So my name's Will Marks and I'm a communications officer here at Integrity Systems Company, and I'll be hosting this webinar today for you guys. So a few quick housekeeping things that we'll just go through. This webinar is recorded, so we will be sending out that recording after to everyone who has registered. So not just the people who have attended, but also those who have registered. You'll also get an email with the slides, all of the questions and answers that come through today. We'll be answering them, and then we'll also send an email with all of those questions and answers as well. It does take us a few days to get that out to you, so just hold on. It won't come out necessarily tomorrow, but it will come out soon. The other main thing is down the bottom of your screen, you'll see a little Q&A box. This is really a good opportunity for you guys to ask any questions that you want. We have representatives from the state here, plus our Integrity Systems Company team who are ready to answer your questions. And thank you to everyone who has already pre-submitted some questions. We'll have those sort of coming out very soon with some answers. So just to get into the agenda today of what we will go through. So we'll do a quick introduction, an overview about who ISC is and what we sort of do. Then we have Elizabeth Bradley, who is our quality policy and compliance manager, and she's going to take you through everything LPA. So we'll go through those sharing geolocations for EU deforestations. We'll run through the animal welfare management plan and how you can do one of those. So we'll sort of uncover the mystery there. Then we've got dairy QA and harvested rangeland goats, which are two sort of new things for us, so we'll touch on them as well. We then have John Azimus, who is our digital product officer. He will take you through some eNVD updates, which are, really good. So he'll sort of do some screen sharing and show you how that sort of is working. We then have sheep and goat eID, so I'll just take you through very briefly around some of the key things that you need to know there. Then we have the NLIS Database Uplift Project. So we have Natasha Terry, who's our operations manager. She's going to go through that project and what you can expect to see sort of in the next 12 months as this starts to roll out. So that's really exciting, and we'll be able to show you a few cool things there. And then we have Michael Britton. So he is your animal product integrity and traceability manager, and he is our representative here from the state government. So he will go through a bit more about sheep and goat eID and what that means for you guys specifically. So just to go through a quick overview of what or who ISC is and what we do. So ISC essentially operates these three products here. So we operate LPA, which is that sort of on-farm base level sort of certification or verification of your farming practices. So once you are LPA accredited, you basically get access to eNVD, which are those documents that you essentially fill out as the animals are leaving your property. And they just help us with our food safety and traceability as the animals move throughout the supply chain. And then finally, we have the NLIS database. So this is the big database that basically you transfer the animals or tags to and from properties. So that's how we track and trace all those movements. So what do these systems essentially do or are attempting to achieve to do? We want to increase market access for red meat producers. We want to continue to meet customer expectations, which are constantly sort of changing, and depending on the sort of region, a bit different. And then we ultimately want to provide safe red meat. So that is essentially Integrity Systems in a nutshell, very quick overview. So what we'll do now is I'll hand over to Elizabeth Bradley and she'll take you through some of the new LPA updates.
Lovely, thank you, Will. Hi, everyone. I'm going to talk today around some key updates we've made through the Livestock Production Assurance Program, or LPA, as we call it for short, because we love our acronyms. Today I'm going to talk about three or 4 key things that we've done in just the last little while. The first is around continuing access to the EU market. And there might not be too many EU producers on the call, but if you have cattle, it's an important one to pay attention to, because all parts of the animals can go over to the EU, including leather and hides. I'll also run you through the new animal welfare management plan requirements, and also just touch briefly on harvested rangeland goats. So harvested rangeland goats is probably not super relevant in Western Australia, but it is a new addition to the LPA program, which allows goats that are captured from a wild state, so that just roam around, to be captured and sent without an eID tag through a goat depot or straight to processing. There's probably not anyone on the call with that, but it's a new addition to the program, and it's an exciting one, but it maybe not so relevant, so we won't really touch on it any further than that. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out as well. So first off, we'll talk around continued access to the EU market. So it's not a big market share, I guess, from the West into the EU based on the number of producers. There are a few over in Western Australia. The EU has brought in a new requirement that starts on the 31st of December this year, and it applies to any beef products or leather and hides that hit those countries, which actually requires a little bit more information for them to be able to be sold. So if you have a look at it in terms of net worth to our industry, it's about $150 million from the meat side of things, and $50 million from the leather that we export to the EU each year. So it's a pretty significant market. It's in addition to the current EU program that's administered through the federal government, and it applies to the land and the deforestation status of the land where cattle have been raised. So it's all actually about sharing a geolocation, which is representative of a property for the life history of an animal. So as it moves through its lifetime, we need to be able to share every location those animals have been, to be able to provide assurance around the deforestation-free status of that export consignment. To do this, we have developed a tool in LPA to allow producers to share just a simple geolocation using their LPA account, and making this available in the NLIS database for processors and exporters to be able to provide that on with the export consignment. So it really helps with fortifying exports, especially leather and hides, which can come from properties that aren't actually in the EU program. So you might not know where all your bits and pieces end up from your animals, but if they do end up in the EU, they need to have this geolocation. So it's worthwhile jumping in and sharing if you can. It's really quite simple to do. So it's just a simple Google map. You just pin the location where you want to put that geolocation, and it saves it in the system, and then permissions that sharing through to the NLIS database. So you can opt in and opt out, but effectively it really helps continue that market access to the EU as well. But that's all I have on EU deforestation. And the important thing I want to talk about today is the Animal Welfare Management Plan requirement. So this is a brand new requirement that's been added into LPA as of the 23rd of June. It coincides with a tool that we've built in the LPA program as well, to be able to help producers complete an animal welfare management plan. What's an animal welfare management plan? Well, all it is a document that details how you demonstrate you meet the animal welfare standards on farm. The tool's based off the animal welfare standards, which I'll show you in just a second, sort of the sections that it looks like. And the whole purpose of this was to strengthen the animal welfare assurance that we as Australia provide to the domestic and international community about animal welfare assurance in Australia. So it really helps fortify and strengthen what we stand behind and how we assure animal welfare as that more scrutiny comes from our international trading partners. So to put it into perspective, roughly 70% of what we produce in terms of meat gets exported from the country. So having these assurance systems really helps maintain that market access, so we continue to have lots of income and lots of money from those exports. So it really goes towards helping all of those export markets stay open for us. Another key date with this is from the 1st of September, if you're lucky enough to have an LPA audit, we will be checking for the Animal Welfare Management Plan as well. The tool is available. It's a live thing you can do at any time through your LPA account. If you don't jump on and do it before you next complete reaccreditation, it will automatically just form part of those steps when you reaccredit next time as well. So we do have a nice little explanation, which I'll show you in just a second, around sort of how it works. But effectively, the animal welfare standards and guidelines have been in place since 2016 in Australia, and they sit at a national level. So the goal of these is to harmonise animal welfare requirements or standards across the nation, and that helps state regulators implement that into legislation on a state-based level. The standards cover off on a lot of key different requirements, but basically it's around your responsibilities as a producer. So that could include things like training and just general duty of care. And then it goes into specifics around things like providing feed and water, how you look at risk management, so drought, fire, floods, etc. It also looks at your facilities and equipment in terms of what you do to maintain that equipment and facilities to ensure welfare of your animals. It looks at specific handling and husbandry activities. So those ones are pretty species specific, which you can see there on the screen. We'll look at what activities you can actually, what are relevant to each, whether it's cattle, sheep or goats, to make sure that those standards are applicable to that husbandry activity and that species. It also talks around things like breeding management, artificial breeding procedures, and then humane euthanasia. They are available for free. You should have a copy of these if you don't, to make sure you understand your responsibilities. And like I said, if you have multiple species that you take care of, you can have access to all of the standards, or if you just have one, you just need the one. So it's a bit of a read, but it is worthwhile. Now, in terms of the plan itself, it's very dynamic. So it might seem like a lot in there, but we ask you the questions up front. So if you just have cattle on your property, you'll only be asked questions about the cattle standards. Similarly, you get asked what husbandry procedures you undertake at the start of the plan, which then ensures that you only answer questions around those husbandry procedures. So, for example, if you do not conduct dehorning on your cattle, you won't have to answer questions about dehorning because it's not part of what you do. So it's as simple as possible and it's as streamlined as possible as we could make it. We also worked with industry for about 18 months on developing the tool and making sure it was fit for purpose. And we piloted it with over 100 producers, so filling out the questions and answer options. There's a mix of multiple choice, so we might ask you a question that you can pick an answer from, which is generated from the guidance, or there's open text boxes where you can just write in some short notes about how you meet that requirement. Don't be scared, it won't take you very long either. It's about 10 minutes or so. But we do have a quick little video here that will just explain sort of how it all works and maybe summarise a little bit quickly around what I was just talking about. So we'll hit play.
There's a new animal welfare tool for the Livestock Production Assurance Program. The Animal Welfare Management Plan makes LPA accreditation and reaccreditation clearer about ensuring good animal health and welfare outcomes. There will be some extra questions in the self-assessment when you renew accreditation every 2 years, but the underlying requirements haven't changed, and there's no extra cost. With Livestock Production Assurance, Australia's cattle, sheep and goat producers already commit to Australia's animal welfare standards. The new tool gives consumers and our markets a stronger basis for preferring our red meat. So let's see how it works. Log in to your LPA account. Click on Record Keeping at the bottom of the screen. Or just go to Account and select Record Keeping. Choose the Animal Welfare Management Plan option. Confirm your on-farm activities, and from here the questions are tailored specifically for the livestock you work with. If you produce sheep, you won't get questions about cattle or goats. You'll be asked to read the relevant animal welfare standards for each section and answer questions with either multiple choice or free text answers. Guidance and links are at each question to help. Once you've completed it, an Animal Welfare Management Plan document will be created. You can then download it as a PDF, but it'll also be stored in your LPA account for easy access and updating. It'll be available anytime via record keeping. The Animal Welfare Plan tool is available for completion anytime in your LPA account. You'll need to do this as part of your reaccreditation, and it'll form part of LPA audits. The Livestock Production Assurance program is all about improving transparency and traceability for Australian red meat and backs the standards we uphold in Australia, including animal welfare. The Animal Welfare Management Plan gives our markets more confidence that our producers are delivering animal welfare to the best standards in the world. For more information, head to the Animal Welfare page on the Integrity Systems website. integritysystems.com.au/on-farm assurance/animal welfare.
Excellent. So I guess my key takeaway around your animal welfare management plan is that we have set it out so that each standard is presented for you. Then you can use the guidance that's embedded in the tool to actually write down or type in or answer the questions based on what you do on farm. So it's more than likely things you're already doing. It's kind of bringing that together. So we've got as much guidance in there as possible as well to keep you, completing it quickly. But the big takeaway is it's not going to take too long, and there's lots of help and support available if you do need it. I just did want to touch, we had a bit of media go maybe a little bit off tangent around working dogs and LPA. So we just wanted to reiterate that the Animal Welfare Management Plan does not restrict the use of working dogs on farms. That's a completely outrageous thing that we think we would do that. Effectively, in the animal welfare standards and guidelines for sheep, which have been in place for nearly 10 years now, all it says is that the use of dogs and handling aids should be limited to complete the task. So there's no restriction on them. So we just really wanted to put that out there and say, that's not true if you have seen that article. And then, if you do use working dogs, that's great. There's a little box there you can tick in the Animal Welfare Management Plan to indicate that. So that we just wanted to put that out there and make sure that was clear. And just to recap, the audit requirements or the transition period around the Welfare Management Plan. So the tool's available now, and we've been allowing producers time to kind of log on and do those plans in the system. So we have had lots of proactive producers jump in and complete it already. It is part of reaccreditation, so those producers, some of them have been doing as part of reaccreditation as well since June. But coming up to the 1st of September, if you are selected for an LPA audit, the auditor will ask you if you've completed that plan or not. If you haven't completed it, don't stress it. You've got another month to kind of jump in and do that as well. And we do have that reminder in the audit letter if you do get one in between now and then as well. But that's all the audits will check in the next 2 years. So pretty straightforward, but if you have any questions around it or concerns, please reach out because we've got a bunch of people able and willing to help you if you need it. That's all for animal welfare. I just wanted to touch briefly on another facelift, I guess you could say, we did for the LPA program, which was around dairy quality assurance. So this has been in place for quite some time, and we just kind of gave it a little bit of a facelift, I guess you could say, about how we manage or administer recognising dairy farms and the audits that dairy farms go under as well. So the same thing is sort of in place. We just kind of made it a bit easier to link your dairy quality assurance to your LPA, and then unlink it if you're no longer doing dairy operations as well. So if you are a dairy property or a dairy farm, if you do provide that linkage between that and your dairy quality assurance program, you can get free LPA accreditation and exemption from random audits, because we know you're getting audited under your quality assurance programs with dairy. With that, if you are, trading beef cattle, sheep or goats, that fee still applies. And overarchingly, you can still be selected for a targeted audit if there are any issues with traceability or residue detections as well. So nothing really significant has changed there, but it is nice to know that we've improved the process by which you can do it. And that is me. So I'm going to hand over to John now, who's going to run you through some really cool improvements to the eNVD. Thanks, John.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Hey, everyone. As Will mentioned, I'm the Digital Product Manager for ISC, and we look after the digital presidents for all three of our products that Will mentioned at the start of the webinar. The purpose of my little bit here today is just to really give you an update on what we're doing in the eNVD world, and just give you a showcase one of the new features that we implemented a couple of months ago, and then also the improvements that we're doing in this quarter. Basically, what we're doing with eNVD, we have quite a lot of money in the budget this year to keep the investment into eNVD to make sure that it's a tool fit for purpose in terms of the movements of cattle between sites within the supply chain. So there's two kind of key areas that we're looking at the moment to keep those improvements coming. The first is around integrating a little bit better with NLIS and making that process of doing the compliance movements much simpler. We saw that there was a kind of a similarity in terms of the data that we're putting into eNVD, and also the requirements of doing movements with NLIS. So we decided to integrate those a little bit better, and I'll go through that quickly and showcase what that means within the eNVD space. The other big area, and this is based on feedback from producers like yourself, is that it's sometimes very hard to find the destination pick within eNVD. So we've been looking at ways to improve that, and being mindful that we are a little bit restricted in terms of the data that we get from the pick register, which is maintained by the states, and playing that back through eNVD. So we're looking at ways of making that easier and making it easier for you guys to find that destination pick and reduce that frustration that we know is our current pain point within eNVD. Okay. So basically, what I'll do through now is just go through the integration bit. This is our kind of first step in this journey. So at the moment, it's only available on the web-based platform, and we're doing property transfers that you might be familiar with through NLIS. So basically, there's two sides to this. As a creator of consignments within eNVD, you have the opportunity to add the tags that or the devices that you're scanning as part of that consignment. It's voluntary. It's not mandatory for you to do that. So you can still create eNVDs as you do now. But what we envisage this feature is allowing the sender to do is have a look at those tags and play back some current statuses within NLIS back into eNVD. So you'll be able to clearly see if you've got a bad read off the reader, you can highlight that. Also, if the tag that's on, or you think is on your property, we can play that back to you and see if that transfer has happened and highlight those common problems within eNVD when the consignment reaches the receiver about certain animals turning up and not being in the correct state to do the movements and the compliance obligations with NLIS. So we have and then from a receiver's perspective, once you receive that information within eNVD, you'll be able to do the movement directly from eNVD. You won't need to log out of eNVD and then go into NLIS and add in the same data. So there's two sides to it, and we see benefits across the receiver and also the sender of the consignment. So I think we're just going to show just a quick intro video, and then after that, I'll actually show you what it does in practice.
Want NLIS livestock transfers to be simpler? Well, there's now an option to complete NLIS movements directly through the eNVD web system. For eNVD-ready receivers, it's a game changer. No more having to go into the NLIS to do livestock transfers. The option to do it in the eNVD web system is both simpler and faster. For senders, help your eNVD ready receiver get the transfer right and cut your PIC reconciliation admin. Just preload an accurate device list to your eNVD for the receiver to transfer. So what's in the NLIS database matches what's in your paddock. Receivers can preview the device numbers heading their way, pick up any statuses and plan ahead for a smoother transfer. The National Livestock Identification System and the Electronic National Vendor Declaration are now more connected than ever before. So traceability and compliance are handled in a streamlined process, all in one place.
Okay, great. So what does that great video mean in practice? So hopefully you'll see my screen come up, and I'll do a quick demonstration of what that means. So as you can see here, here's the consignment summary screen that you might be familiar with. So what we want to do here is just create a new consignment. I'll add the devices to the consignment. You can see that status check happening within NLIS, and then send that through, change over to the receiver and see what that means from a receiver's perspective, and then facilitate the movement within NLIS. So to create a new consignment, the quickest way is to use a template, and that's a feature that we encourage people to use if you're doing a lot of high frequency consignments to the same destination. You can set up multiple templates to facilitate that and pre-fill a lot of the information. So for this one, we'll just select this template. It goes through, fills out the destination, all the necessary information that we can grab from a template. I'll just select and make sure that we're moving it today. And then in the interest of speed, the only other thing I need to do here is really just sign the declaration. And then go back and just make sure that the livestock that I've got in here is up to date. So for this movement, we just want to do 19 head. We're shifting some dorpers, and I'll just make sure that all of them have ear tags in the consignment. So once I've filled in all that information, I can then submit that consignment and it's ready to go. Once we submit that, it's visible to the receiver at this point. As you can see here, we have this new banner and it says, optional. If you want to start that movement off the property, then this is how you do it. So the quickest way to do this is by adding the devices, and you'll see that you have an option to either upload via a file or add them manually. Depends on how you store your tags within your own operations, but the upload file option, we can accept most of the scanner outputs, and it just removes the unwanted information and just loads up the device IDs. So to do that, we choose a file, and we can add that to the consignment and then push it through. At this point, it's going to validate those devices against NLIS and can play back a bit of information. So what is this screen telling me? It's telling me that I've added in too many devices. So the number of devices that I have added in is over the number of headcount that I've put in the eNVD. So that might indicate a bit of a reconciliation error in terms of how many you're moving and how many you've loaded. But it also can play back errors and warnings to you. So in the top here, the error, that's kind of maybe a bad read from the device scanner. So we can, if it's not relevant, or you want to edit, you can have the option to delete that out of the list of devices that you're adding. And it just plays back and makes sure that you want to do it. This warning here is important too. So what this is telling me is that this device that you've loaded up is not actually registered to your current PIC. So that may mean that animal has come onto your property, but you haven't done the transfer within NLIS. So it's just calling out that transfer should happen before you then transfer them off, so that you're maintaining the life history of the animal, and you're not introducing questions from the receiver when they try and do their movement. So again, we can just, for a simple demonstration, delete that one. It's just been added by mistake. And then the final one is really the other check that we can do is also just call out if there's a species mismatch. So if you've added in accidentally a cattle tag into the consignment or vice versa, depending on the type of consignment you're doing, it would also call that out too. Bearing in mind that some of these warnings, they will not stop the transfer from happening, but they will then play back once that movement's done in NLIS. So we're trying to front run these issues up here and make them very visible to the people within the consignment, that there may be some inconsistencies with the devices that are moving from property to property. So finally, we can just, I'll get rid of that warning too, so that you can see that now we've got no issues detected. Everything seems to be good. We've all got green ticks, so that those devices are ready to go and can be reviewed by the receiver. So I'll just switch profiles now and become the receiver of the consignment. So again, you can see I've got an incoming consignment, and what it tells me here in this column that you might notice is new is displaying the status of this consignment. You can see that the little tag icon is filled in, so it means that the devices have been added. What I can do from here is have a look at those devices. So remembering that once this consignment is submitted, the receiver can see it instantaneously. If I have a look at the view devices, I can see what's been added by the sender, and I can see that there's no issues. But what it's telling me here is that if I want to do the movement in NLIS on my own behalf, I need to switch the profile. And what that means is that you need to have your NLIS account linked to your MyMLA profile as well as your LPA, so that you can tell the system that it's you doing the movement. And that's quite important, because if you don't switch your profile, you may try and move onto your pick, but the system won't let you do that. The other thing that it locks down is the ability to edit. So you'll notice that you won't have the access that you expect. So it's quite important that you remember to switch your profile. What does that mean? So if we go back to the consignment summary, you'll notice that I have multiple profiles linked to the account that I'm using for the demonstration. I need to just flip down to my NLIS ID one, which is this one here. Once I select that and then go back into this consignment, I can see that I can now complete the NLIS movement because I'm interacting with the eNVD through the right profile. So to do the movement, I can see that I've got no issues detected, and then the move on to my pick option is available to be selected, and I do that, and it's failed. Nothing like demoing things in the live. But what that means is that movement will be submitted to NLIS, and then you'll get an upload ID. And if you need to go into NLIS, you'll have that reference, and you can make sure that that movement has been done on your behalf. Now, the next bit that I just wanted to go through as well is also talking about the pick search. And so at the moment, as I mentioned, people are struggling to find the destination pick. But what we have found that's working really well is the ability within the app to filter and then select and apply some filters to get to the right destination pick. So what we want to do is bring that pattern that's working well within the app and apply that across both the app and the web and make it a little bit more usable. So what does that mean? It's giving users a few more options to be able to narrow down the search and be able to get that destination pick a lot easier. So in terms of what we're doing and in improving that feature, I've got a quick prototype, and this is in the process of being developed at the moment. And what it's going to look like is we recognize that there's multiple different ways that users can try and find the pick easily, and we're splitting that out into three options available to the user. The first one that we think is probably going to be the most useful, and through our testing has been indicated that way, is the option to be able to pick clearly the destination that you used before. So by clicking that, you'll be able to see a list of up to 10 picks that you've done in prior consignments, and you'll be able to then select that and feed that into the consignment quite easily. The second option that we have, which is much similar to what you have now, is being able to just put the pick number in. So if you know the pick number, you'll still have the option to be able to put that pick in straight in and see the result and be able to select it and pass it through. The third option, and this is where we utilize the same pattern within the app, is that you might know some details. You don't know exactly the pick number and you've got some missing gaps. So you can use the filters available to narrow down that search. So again, we can pick the state, we can put in the town, we can select the type of pig that you're interacting with. So whether it's a feedlot, a sale yard, an abattoir directly, you'll be able to select that pig type, and then be able to refine that search. And so it'll show you a list of the pigs that meet that criteria, and then you'll be able to find it in the results that are presented to the user. So we're hoping that and through the testing, it's been played back quite positively, that giving these three options will make that current pain point a little bit easier for everyone, and get them quicker on their journey within eNVD.
Hey everyone, I am back. So we've already gone through quite a bit already. So just a reminder that we will be sending out an email with the recordings and everything. So if you want to go back and have a look at something, you can, but we'll just quickly go through a couple key things about sheep and goat eID. So next slide, thanks Bridget. So basically in WA from the 1st of Jan this year, all sheep and goats managed goats born after this date basically need to have an eID when leaving the property. From the 1st of July 2026, it becomes all sheep and goats basically leaving the property have to have that eID. And then from the 1st of Jan 2027, nationally, it becomes fully implemented, and all sheep and goats basically leaving a property must have an eID. So next one along, thanks Bridget. So here's just a quick rundown. Basically in Western Australia, you guys use the year of birth tag colours. So there they all are, they're listed for you. Basically, you can contact your state territory DPI or your reseller if you need to order the tags. You need to have a pick. And the main thing that we want to get through here is basically that if you've got goats, please attach goat tags. If you've got sheep, please attach sheep tags. So you can figure that out by the little, by the code. So sheep have S for their year of birth, and the post breeders have T, and for goats, it's K and L. So you can kind of have a look at the tag and find those letters, and that should indicate what species they are. So just make sure you're using the right species. Next one, thanks. And then finally, just want to reiterate, this is really important. So it's always the receiver's responsibility to complete the NLIS transfer. If you're not doing it yourself and you've got an agent who's doing it for you, it's always a good idea to request the upload ID, just as proof that, you know, it has been done and that you can reference that in future if you ever need to. So all transfers must be recorded within 2 days of the animals arriving on the property. Some sale yards, feedlots and processors will complete the transfer, but not everyone. So again, it is your responsibility to make sure that this is happening. So please keep an eye out on that. Finally, look, we do have a lot of resources available, and we will send these out afterwards as well. But please visit our website if you need any more information. We also have a YouTube page that we try to post as many sort of how-tos and any information that we think is really necessary. We try to get a video out there as well. So now I'm going to pass it on to Natasha, who's actually going to take you through sort of the NLIS Database Uplift Project to tell you all the exciting things that are happening in that space.
Thanks, Will. And I know, look, guys, is a lot to consume. So just a reminder again from what Will said that we will circulate this, but keep putting your questions in the chat if you have any concerns. Okay, so the NLIS Database Uplift Project. Oh, the year is 2000. This was when the database was started. You know, it was the year of Y2K. We were all sitting around wondering what was going to happen as soon as it hit the 1st of January 2000. I don't know anything about that because I wasn't in Australia. But I think that probably the most thing was we were all using the Nokia 3310 and we were all playing Snake on our phone. So if you reflect on how long ago that was quite a while ago now. So 25 years. And that was when the NLIS was released. You can see that there. It was probably on a doc matrix version code or something like that. But why are we uplifting the database? I hear quite often that, hey, I've only just got used to this after 20 years. Well, the key driver is to continue to protect our market access and food safety. It's a key tool for Australia's defence against exotic diseases. It is getting pretty outdated. The current NLIS is 25 years old, as I've already mentioned. We're future-proofing livestock traceability for decades to come. We're looking at improving the user experience. I'm not sure how many people love the little 50 long drop-down menus, but we're looking to improve the ability for people to use it. The core purpose and functionality will be modernised, and we're looking to increase security on the current infrastructure. We all know about nasties like cyber criminals and their threat that they now pose in the year 2025. And we're tracking towards a release on the 30th of June 2026, and it has been funded by a $22.5 million grant from the Australian government. So what will it help with? We believe we'll get increased traceability due to the improved usability of the system. So we're really aiming to make it easier to use. We're looking at simplifying the current processes to get the job done quickly, because we all know you don't love doing computer work. It has improved ability to upload large files, access data quickly and efficiently, and we believe the data quality will be improved and maintained. And we're also looking at easier integration. There's a lot of software systems now that are looking for APIs to loop into the back end of the NLIS to make your life easier. So we're looking to make that more interoperable. And of course, as I said before, keep that data safe, secure, and up to date. And it also will provide better reporting and analytics. And I think those annoying notifications, we're looking to reduce those as well. So where are we on this delivery? I'm hearing that like 70% of our producer base aren't aware of the changes to our database, but this has actually been a 3-year journey. So it started back in July 2023. And as you can see, we worked through a number of different phases in the project. We're currently at the build phase and the stage transition phase. So that's where we are at the moment. And we'll be looking to have the database fully operational by July 2026. So as I said, John here, he's our guru. There's been a lot of work on the user interface concept designs. So we have been taking those around to a lot of our events, a lot of the shows we've attended, a lot of conferences, and getting feedback from the users. The change management training and adoption plans are currently being developed. We're looking at 2 releases planned, but you guys won't see that. You'll only see when it goes live. Tracking for the project completion by July 2026. And once 2.0 is fully commissioned, 1.0 will be decommissioned. So that's the current database that you're using. That will be decommissioned because the cost of maintaining those amounts of data in 2 systems is just a bit too much. So I'm going to hand over to the guru, John, who is one of the main designers of the system, just to give you a little demo, what it's going to look like.
Thanks, Natasha. So as Natasha mentioned, I have a bit of a side hustle in terms of this project as well as all the other projects. So Hopefully you can see my screen, but here is kind of, I suppose, the landing page that you guys are all familiar with. And as Natasha said, it's been around for quite a while. Big feedback that we had is it's not very intuitive and it's very kind of 1990s, 2000s. So the biggest opportunity we have with uplifting this system is kind of bringing it into the current era, and looking at opportunities to make it a little bit less or a little bit more user friendly, but also less kind of confusing to the user. So what does that look like, and where are we going? So as Natasha mentioned, we're starting the build phase, and we've been testing and socializing these landing pages and these user patterns with people for quite a few months now. And you can see that the system we're moving to is much more meaningful and user friendly and clear about what we want you guys to do for us, and reducing the time that you spend within the system. We want you guys to come in, do what you need to do, aid that traceability concept, and then get out and not really have this as a system that takes you a long time to do those functions. So what we're doing is we're building a landing page that presents the information clearly. Information about your status of your pick, the species that you're interacting with, the programs that you're part of, and then as we move down the page, making it really clear for you to find exactly what you need to do. Two major concepts is one, the ability to search within the system. So if you have something specific that you're looking for, whether it be a transaction ID or a particular device number or an action that you want to perform, giving you the ability to search by that. So what does that mean? So if we want to search by, say, a transaction, so you've done a movement, you know that transaction ID, you want to see what the current status is to make sure it's been done properly. You can put that transaction ID in here, search it, we will play that back to you. So you can see that this transaction was a movement that was done today. You can see that it's been completed, the person that did it, the date that it was uploaded. If you want to dive down into more details around that transaction, you can hit this button and then we play back even more information. So what was the specific details of the movement? Where did it come from? Where's it gone to? How many devices were added to it? The number of head, and any other information that was loaded up with it. We'll even, if the devices are added and you've done an individual movement, then we'll list those out as well. The other big thing that we're planning on implementing is this quick action, so that it makes it really clear for you about what you want to do. The other thing, as I mentioned too, is being able to reduce the inconsistency within the system. So we want to group all the transactions that currently represent a movement from one pick to another in one flow, and we'll present that in one action that you need to do, not many that like you do in the current system. Removing that reference to tags and calling them devices. We can see that, as we move into the future, potentially there'll be other ways of representing individual animals within the system, and tags is very specific to one type of device. So we want to generalize that terminology. The other big change is around some of the reporting. So instead of it being a beast inquiry, which is not relevant to all species that are in NLIS, we want to generalize that and call it a livestock inquiry. But as you can see, you can customize these quick actions to represent the four most common things that you do within NLIS, so that you're not having to go into here and dig down in through this big list of things that you might want to do, and it's clearly articulated in these big cards. And if you need to customize them, you can pick from all the actions that you have access to be able to customize the four that you see on the page. The other things that we play back to the user in this landing page are a representation of the latest movements. So you can see that if you're moving off your pick or onto your pick, that those movements have been loaded in by the responsible party. We can highlight any big notifications or important notifications to you. We're going to continue that linking with eNVD and be able to play back any incoming or outgoing eNVDs that you've done off your pick, and then graphically represent the devices on your picks so that you can see if a trend is going up or down and it's different to what you're expecting, then it means that either the other party involved in the movements isn't doing the transfer as they need to, and that's a call to action to say, hey, this transfer needs to be done, or it's just it's basically like a quick action into your pick reconciliation, so you can see if the active devices that we see in the system kind of matches up with what you think you have in your animals versus in your draw. I think that's pretty much it that I wanted to go through. So hopefully that gives you a bit of a flavour of where we're heading with the new system. And as Natasha said, if you need to get some more information about the progress or want to be involved in some of the testing, then please reach out to us. Thanks.
Thanks, John. So just to give you an idea of some of the consultation that's going on, it's rather large, as you can sort of see. So there's sort of a 3-layer of reference groups, and then there's 4 layers of governance involved with the project. So 3 are reference groups representing industry, state and territories, and then a technical reference group. And then on top of that, there's another governance group. So there's over 135 hours of engagement with industry reference groups since March 2024. We've done more than 20 industry events since March 2025, and that will continue. So look out for us if you're at any of the events that you think we might be at. Come over, have a chat with us, and we can show you. You can have a bit of a play with the system yourself. We've also done 3 rounds of usability testing. Now, just to be clear, that was just the concept testing on what their system looks like, and that's what we were using for feedback. In the future, there will be rounds of UAT testing where John was talking about, where we'll have it producers and different user types that will come on to test the system. But there's also a bi-monthly project update that's delivered via email as well that you can read if you want to keep up to date with what's happening. So training, I'm sure everyone's looking at the system going, hey, looks great, but how am I going to learn to use it? So we're working through our training approach and deliverables at the moment. So we're building a training curriculum and a schedule, and then we'll be preparing our training materials, be looking to conduct some train the trainer. So that's when we'll be looking for specialists within the industry and within user types that can help drive that adoption to support the end user post. And we will have the support at ISC for when it goes live. So what does that mean for me? So the new look NLIS database is designed to, I just want to reiterate this, to be simpler and easier to use. But we recognise it's a big change, and we know, I'm a farmer myself, we don't like change. So a detailed training plan is being developed at the moment, and once we get those details, we'll share it across the industry and across user types as soon as we can. We plan to assist producers and industry with the how-to guides to show you how to use the new database, training webinars, which will be recorded so you can watch them again and again and again until you get ready. Hands-on demonstrations, just like John's done, but where you get to drive it yourself to make it clear and practical, and regular updates and opportunities to ask questions. And we'll have our 24/7 chatbot available in our service centre that's open from 7 till 7 during the weekdays and 9 till 5 during the weekends. And we'll also be using our website to support that. So I'll now hand over to Michael, I think.
Thanks for that, Natasha. G'day everyone, my name's Michael Britton. I'm Manager of Animal Product Integrity and Traceability at the Department of Primary Industries and Development. And excuse me, I've got a bit of a raspy throat going on. This is really just a very brief presentation, just about 3 minutes worth, just to remind you of the highlights, the government support that's been provided as part of sheep and goat eID. If we could just go to the first slide, which really focuses on why we are moving towards eID. There are lots of reasons. There are lots of on-farm, on-site management reasons. There are market access reasons. But from the department's perspective, the main reason is traceability and rapid response around that traceability. We know the mob-based system does work pretty well, but it's got some holes in it. And, you know, for use of a better term, nasties would take advantage of those holes. So we need to plug up as many of those holes as possible. Try and minimize things like human error rates, transcription errors, wrong sheet numbers, all of those sorts of things. But traceability really is the key reason. Next slide, please. So the dates have already been mentioned, so I won't dwell on this, but essentially can be categorized into two activities. One is when you need to tag, and obviously anything born this year needs to be tagged, and when you need to scan. And the only people required to scan at the moment are abattoirs and sale yards. From the 1st of July next year, in that far right green column, nothing can really leave any property or facility without a tag and has to be scanned basically wherever it arrives. For anyone online that's got old stock, so that's stock born before the 1st of January 2025, they could still move visually all the way through until the 30th of June next year. So you don't need to put an eID in them if you don't want to. But after that 1st of July date next year, it will be mandatory for you to do that. Next slide, please. So all state and territory ministers signed up to eID in September 2022, when we've been really lucky to have good industry support, both at the national level, the state level, and across a number of local regions across Western Australia as well. A lot of our support has been guided by what is our sheep and goat advisory group. I know there are some members here online today, so thank you to them for their help in helping to design some ways that we can help industry transition. So the tag incentive scheme was commenced as a pilot in March 2025 for blue eIDs, and it basically provided a 75-cent reduction at the point of sale for those year of birth tags. The rationale behind that was an eID at the time cost about $2. A visual tag maybe 20-30 cents, so 75 cents is kind of the meeting producers halfway. That scheme was continued in 2024 for blacks, and it continues for 2025 for whites. Many are aware we don't have an answer yet, but we're looking at how we might be able to extend the scheme in 2026 or even get a new scheme up for 2026 prior to 26 actually commencing, so producers might have a bit of lead in time or plan in time. We've just tipped over 8.5 million eIDs that have been subsidised through the program, and that's a really impressive number. I think you might think, well, yes, that is impressive, but people have to buy them, so that's why it's so large. Out of that 8.5 million, 5 million of those were sold in the non-mandatory period. So that shows a really, really good level of early adoption by producers, and very proud of that early take-up. Next slide, please. Onto the grants that we've provided to downstream operators. So just so that people are aware, $3.52 million has been provided to a range of downstream operators, export depots, sale yards, abattoirs, feedlots, community resource centres, grower group alliances, ag colleges, livestock agents. So there's no shortage of eID infrastructure that's out there at the moment. Very proud to say that we successfully negotiated 96 funding agreements, and out of those 96 funding agreements, we've managed to fund over 90% of everyone's essential eID equipment needs. So if you haven't got a wand and you're moving stock onto property, talk to your agent. If you don't use an agent and you're doing it yourself, head down to your local CRC, because we've given them a wand for you to use. Next slide, please. Just so you're aware, all of this has been documented. So the BAM IMSA regulations, which mandate eID, are now complete, and this is all law. This was really just to demonstrate the consultative process that we went through. So those regs are now in effect. And then into the last slide, I think it is. Basically, we continue engagement across government, industry, downstream operators. There's a lot of engagement that will be going on over the next 20 months. The eID team has just grown. We will have 3 fully dedicated officers answering producers' phone calls about sheep eID, colours, regulations, requirements, NILS problems, all sorts of things. And we'll also have 2 additional staff who will actually be out on the road going to downstream operator sites on a weekly basis for the next 20 months, just to make sure things are happening as they should. Just the key final message that I just wanted to, I guess, impress upon people is the department's taking a education first approach. We're not taking a big stick approach. If you're having a go, we're happy for you to have a go. We know that there are some issues. There have been some teething issues, and every state and territory is going through the same sorts of things. So just be aware, we're more than happy to help. We're more than happy to reach out and do that education first approach rather than a compliance first approach. If you have any questions, remember we have a dedicated team there to help you. Email us at eID@DPIRD, or visit our website by Googling DPIRD eID, and it's the top search in Google. So thank you, everyone, for your time.
Thank you, Michael, for that. That was great. Thank you to all our presenters and to everyone who is on the call here today. Appreciate your time. So the main 3 things that we'd like you to take away today is if you could complete your animal welfare management plan, that would be amazing. Sharing your geolocation if you intend to export over to the EU markets would also be great. Give eNVD a try. We are continuously improving it, so we hope you give it a go. And yeah, keep an eye out for the new NLIS database system. It will be coming in soon, and we will be continuing to sort of talk about it and try and socialize it as much as we can as we get into sort of the training aspect. So thank you again to everyone who has attended. We will be sending out packs very soon, so keep an eye out for that. Appreciate it.